3, 2, 1. Alright, and now we are live, everybody. We have GreenZSaber, or GreenZSaber if you're from any other friggin' country, playing this title that I don't feel like pronouncing. This guy I'm being yelled at, so just count me in whenever you're ready.
Okay. Well, this is Disgaea 5, Alliance of Vengeance. This is the first Switch RPG that has a physical release. And if you're not familiar with the series at all, I will just say it's basically a turn-based strategy RPG like Fire Emblem, but way more over the top. And I have here my co-commentator, Pink Pajamas.
Hello.
He runs the other Disgaea games, except for a couple.
Yeah. Why don't you show them like the 3 pages of settings, just to give them a sense of how fast this game is, just because of the settings.
Yeah, this is the most important part of the run setup first, the settings setup. So we will need all these settings to be able to play the game as fast as we are going to be playing it. And this game is a very, very fast speed run, so there's going to be a lot to explain. So hopefully we can cover most of what's going on. And I'm going to start the run in 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, so you want to take this on?
Where would you like to go, dude?
Well, currently it's still on the front there.
Okay, well...
yeah, it looks like I have a few seconds of lag on my end.
Alright,
so... yeah, every single battle is going to be pretty quick. Cutscenes are skipped completely, and for the first few chapters, we're just going to use the main character, Kelia, and what he does is he has a fist weapon that has a high chance of counterattacking, and that's going to be really useful because when enemies come up and attack you, you just counterattack, you don't have to do any kind of action at all. And GreenZSaber here is going to be making a few characters. And I'm assuming for lifting purposes.
Where would you like to go?
correct.
Yeah, so there's this lifting mechanic in the Disgaea series in general, where you can
Let's go.
where the movement of each character is limited, but you can use a character slot to just pick up another character and then throw them, and then they can move, and that really helps on a lot of stages with just being able to move your character at any position, and if you need to move them across gaps, or you can also use lifting
Where would you like to
to
go, dude?
fade an attack per turn. I don't know exactly how much of each of those are being used in this run, but there are many really useful ways to use lifting.
Yeah, it shows up every now and then, but not used as much as the other games. So this first episode out of 16, by the way, is very basic. We're not going to be doing anything special right now. We're just going to be moving up to the enemies and using regular attacks on them, because we don't really have much options available right now. We will unlock a lot more options throughout the story that will allow us to go a lot faster.
Let's go.
So as you can see, this game is very, very fast-paced game. There is almost no breaks. The biggest break probably is about 10 seconds at most. So,
one thing to note is revenge mode. You can notice that the main character Kelia had this kind of little red icon on top of him, and that kind of denotes that it's something specific to Disgaea 5, and they're kind of in a powered up mode for a few turns, and it's pretty helpful in a number of circumstances, and later on we'll see it being really abused.
Yeah, this is the main speed tech used throughout the game. So here we are in episode 2, and we're gonna have to do a few setups. Setup is really key in this game. If you have a wrong setup, then you are not going to be going as fast as you would like to, because you won't be able to one-hit everything.
Where would you like to go, dude?
So I just bought a weapon upgrade, a few healing items, and an evility. Evilities are basically like passive abilities in this game. And I bought an evility called Mean Guy that increases the attack power that you get, the attack stat that you get upon leveling up. So this is the first introduction of geo effects. You want to explain what geo effects are?
Yeah, so you see those kind of pyramid little things and these different colored tiles. The pyramids are the geosymbols, and the geosymbols have an effect, and any symbol can be different, have any different thing, but they're going to be static in terms of the story levels. And we're currently in a map that doesn't have them, but they'll show up again pretty soon. So I guess I can continue to explain it. So the geosymbols, essentially, they have a color, and any tile that has the color tile, the same color tile as the symbol that is on, it will have that effect. And if you destroy a symbol on a colored tile, then it will turn all the tiles into the color of the symbol. And then if there's another symbol on that colored tile, then it will create a chain reaction, and there are a few maps where that's relevant. Right here, in this map there's an option for getting kind of the bonuses on these blue panels, but he's not using them because he really doesn't need to. It would cost a lot of actions, so he'd have to take an action that isn't attack, because he's going solo kill you for like the first half of the run or so.
Yeah, it's mostly kill ya for the first half of the game. We will use other characters. Actually, we'll be using all our characters, but not for the reasons that you would think. And to address the other question, we will see a lot of counter action later on, but not for a while. So in this stage I'm at, you have to cause this geo explosion because there's a magic user on top of a tower, and she's not going to come down until we cause this geo explosion to get rid of all the tiles. And this episode, the last couple stages also has some of the worst RNG factors, which is the zombies, because the zombies have a chance to poison you, and poison takes away about 20% of your max HP every turn that you're inflicted with it, so that's not really a status effect we want. So that's why we have fairy dust to cure it if we get inflicted with it. And it's really prevalent in this stage, I mean, because there's a lot of zombies, you can see.
Yeah, it's 20% of your max HP for 3 turns. So poison is pretty powerful in the Disgaea series.
Yeah, it wasn't as powerful in the first game, but after that they started making poison heal 20% of your max HP, and it's irrelevant to your level or stats, it doesn't matter if you have like 10 billion HP, you will always take 20% of your max HP with poison. So all the zombies are gone, so we just have to worry about the boss now. And we're just gonna attack him from behind to get the most damage output. And he also inflicted us with Forget, which means I can't use any skills.
Yeah, skills are where a lot of the damage that you do comes from. The normal attack is nowhere near as powerful as just doing special skills, which cost SP. It's not so important this early on, but it still kind of hurts.
Okay, so here's another major setup in this run. So I put Killia in the squad, which is going to be important for later. And then I'm going to set what's called a subclass. You want to explain what those are? Squads and subclasses? And the Dark Assembly, I guess?
Alright, so what he's doing with the subclass is that there are different classes in the game, and they can come with different abilities or passive skills, and they can have different... it's not equips. They're essentially different classes.
Welcome.
I think you're just using it for abilities and unlocking different classes as well.
Correct.
Yeah, so he's doing it for some abilities, and by subclassing, he's going to increase the rank of
Where would you like to go, dude?
that subclass, and by having certain ranks of a subclass, he can unlock other classes.
Alright. So this episode is where we'll start seeing some of the main speed tech that's used throughout the game.
It's my turn.
So in a few turns we will see it. Just have to set up. So next turn I should be able to use it.
And to note for this chapter, or this episode in general, the kind of purple sea is poisoned, so if anyone ends the turn on that kind of sea of poison, then they end up getting poisoned. And it's just for this chapter in general. So what he's doing with the squad attack, he put Killia in a squad, and whenever you're in revenge mode, which I kind of said earlier, talked about earlier, where you get hit, and then it increases your revenge meter, and then if it goes all the way up, you get into revenge mode. You can use a squad attack, which is one squad against another squad, and that's just essentially used as a really powerful area of effect attack for this, because enemies in this game are in a certain number of squads.
Yeah,
I don't know about the average number per map, but
you can only have up to 3 squads per map.
yeah, so you do at worst, you can attack at worst 1/3 of the enemies on a map with a single attack with a squad attack. So it's really, really powerful.
Where would you like to go, dude?
Yeah, the thing about squad attacks, you target one enemy with it, and then it will hit every single enemy that's in the same squad, no matter where they are on the map. So they can be at the end of the map, and squad attack will still hit them as long as they're in the same squad as the enemy that you targeted. So of note, we're not inflicted with poison, even though Pink Pajama said the purple sea is poison. That's because I bought an ability earlier, poison vaccine, that makes me immune to poison, so we don't really have to worry about that for the rest of the game anymore.
And are you just going to keep that through pretty much the entire game because poison is powerful?
Yeah.
Yeah,
we'll see a lot of enemies that inflict poison throughout the game, so we do want to keep it on at all times. So here, this is where we will abuse the netherworld effect. So there's a lot of enemies here, but we just lure them to drop down below so they can get poisoned, and we can just slowly whittle them down. Even if Killia gets defeated, it won't matter too much because we can just poison the enemies will just die of poison eventually. And of note, I targeted a Valkyrie, which is a female warrior, and I actually just killed a healer that was on the other end of the map with that squad attack. So that is a thing I will do every now and then.
Also to note, there are all those geo bonuses on the up there, and making sure that they don't get to use them is also pretty nice, I imagine.
Awesome.
Okay, so I did some changing around the cheat shop. You want to explain the cheat shop?
Yeah, the cheat shop is where you can kind of adjust the enemy level and what you get from each enemy between money, EXP, mana, and what's the last one?
Money, mana, skill experience, weapon experience.
Yeah, so he's just getting normal experience in exchange for a lot of the other things. The further you go on in the cheat shop, the more you can skew it towards one stat over another. Currently, he is in the item world. It's this kind of thing in Disgaea where they're just randomly generated worlds, and in like the beginning of the game, you'll always have to go through about 10 levels of the item world. In this case, you have to get the it's called the gate key, and you have to go get it to level 10. And to level an item in the item world in this game, you have to defeat all the enemies in a single floor.
Yeah, there are random events that can cause me to increase the level of the item without having to kill enemies, but unfortunately they are random, so we can't really rely on those too much. Ooh, that was bad. Okay, I guess I got a bad layout for geo effects, so I'm gonna have to heal up and go back.
Fix you up.
Fortunate.
Shall we go?
Yeah, he's going to use a few of the Gen C exits, so you can just exit the item world whenever. So dying is not really dangerous or having Killia die is not really dangerous in that regard, because you can just hop out and then hop back in. It sucks to lose the time, but it's not that big of a deal, I imagine.
Yeah, at most it only costs a few seconds, which is actually a lot in this game because we do a lot of stages, and on average, like the later stages will be done in about 25 seconds. Just to give you an idea of how fast we're gonna go later on.
Yeah, things are moving really quick here, but essentially we're just using a few skills that we have, either sword skills or natural skills that Killia has, to use ranged or AoE skills or attacks, and we can pretty much one-shot anything.
Yeah, our regular attack also one-shots the enemies in this area because they're just so weak compared to regular enemies of a similar level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even at the cheat shop, you also put the levels up to max, and even then, the enemies here are a total pushover.
Yeah, I do that to get extra experience from them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here, this is where I use... I did something really subtle, where I brought out a couple characters and just let them die. Doing that forces revenge mode for Killia, which will allow me to use squad attack. And that is a strategy I will be doing a lot throughout the run.
Yeah, by having 3 of any character out, and he'll just take out level 1 characters of whatever he has.
To your heart's content.
Having 3 enemies die will automatically trigger revenge of whoever else is out. So he'll take out like level 1 about 3 level 1 characters out, have them die, and that'll trigger revenge mode, and that'll like boost his stats, and most importantly, he'll be able to use squad attack.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it right here in the next stage.
And squad attack is just a really strong area of effect skill.
Yeah, this is a new thing that they introduced in Disgaea 5, and this is what allows us to go much faster than compared to the other games. Like, we are going to be completing over 100 stages throughout this run, which you might not think is possible just because the estimate is so short, but it is. And to top it all off, squad attack is actually not the main source of going fast. Later on, we'll be using something much more broken than squad attack.
You still need revenge mode, so it's similar in that regard, but not quite. It's not squad attack, because squad attack doesn't hit every single enemy.
Okay, so right there I bought 100 thimbles, which are the weakest fist item, which will be important for later, and then I bought muscle increase evality, which increases the attack stat by 10%, which will allow us to securely one-shot some of the enemies in this upcoming episode. And I bought a couple of paralysis weakening vaccines, which protect us from the statuses, because we will be facing enemies that can inflict these statuses to us later on. So right here, these are prinnies that don't actually say dude because they're yellow. They're like ninja prinnies, and that's the last we'll be seeing of them.
Let's go.
Yeah, the main gimmick of this episode is that there's gonna be random mushrooms that spawn randomly throughout the map every turn. Well, they're not that big of a deal. They can be a bit of a hindrance because if they get in the way of an enemy that you're currently fighting, then you might have to spend an extra turn to attack them because they're on top of a mushroom and your skills just can't reach that high.
Yeah, attacks in this game kind of have a height restriction. It's like DM and it's like 12 height or something. I think it's actually decimeters. So if they're on top of something, it kind of sucks. And you do have to worry about that at some points. But yeah, he's just talking about how specifically here he has to worry about that if enemies go on top of the kind of randomly spawning mushrooms.
Alright, so this is where we're gonna use those warriors that I created at the beginning of the run. Because this has silence and clone. Clone randomly creates clones of an enemy that's on the tiles. We don't really want to have to fight more enemies than we need to, and silence prevents us from using skills. So we just toss Killia to the other end of the map and destroy the Geo symbol. Okay, so here I'm gonna send out my weak characters again so they can be sacrificed. So we're gonna get revenge mode in the next turn. And then we are going to use squad attack on these archers. So I just killed 5 of the archers. If we didn't do that, it would take us like 5 turns just to kill them all. So it's nice to be able to destroy them in just 1 turn. In general, you mostly want to use squad attack on the range enemies just because they are really hard to get to.
What's my name?
And this episode, this stage I'm in right now is probably the hardest stage in the run because there's an NPC here that's hostile to both parties. The thing is, you have to keep her alive, otherwise you will get a sort of bad ending, but which means you will have to retry the stage.
Yeah, and yeah, it's really annoying because she'll sometimes attack you, and then you'll counterattack, and then kill her, and it's just really annoying to deal with.
Yeah, so I will have to heal her at times, and then if I think she's got enough HP to survive everything, I'll just move out of the way and have her destroy everything else. So she should... Yeah. Go ahead.
One thing I forgot to mention about Revenge Mode is that you can only use squad attack once per fight. So you can't just use it over and over while you're in Revenge Mode.
Well, it's once per character.
Oh, once per character.
Like to go, dude?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a major grind segment
Awesome.
in the run. I have tried to do a run where I went through the whole game without grinding, and it turns out grinding actually is faster.
Cheating's the best.
So we will have to take a few moments to grind throughout the run, and this is the first major instance of that.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so I guess I didn't put him in the right squad.
Awesome.
Are you using the level 99 trick?
Yes.
Okay, so let me explain the... Well, first are you going to use curry first, or...?
I have to set up the curry, because
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go to the level 99 map right now, because I need to get a skill for Killia
Welcome.
first, and to do that I have to do an easier map. Okay,
Welcome.
so in one more map we will be going to that level 99 map.
So yeah, you did this, you made a curry, those 100 thimbles that you bought,
Where
you
would you
put
like to go, dude?
as like a sub-ingredient for the curry, and then you had one main ingredient for the curry, which I don't know what it does, but I know by putting 100 thimbles, which is the max that you can put in, into the curry just means that the curry extends for 100 maps.
It just adds critical hit rate, 1% per thimble used. Actually, the way you extend the curry's lifespan is to just do more maps while it's currently brewing.
Oh, okay. I never really understood the curry myself when I was playing this.
But yeah, I didn't use it right now because we won't really need it. So the main reason I do this map first is because I need to unlock this skill called Hellfire Shot, which is a very powerful fire elemental skill for Killia. He's got a plus formation, so we'll be able to hit a lot more things with it. Okay, so now we are going to use the curry,
Cheating's the best.
and then we're gonna make another one. So coming up is the map we're gonna be needing the curry for. Because we are level 48 Killia, who's going to be fighting level 99 enemies. So you want to explain level 99 trick now?
Yeah, so what he's able to do with the cheat shop is increase enemy levels, and they're going to be the same level every time, or they're kind of a static level every time, but in this specific map, by increasing it, I think 15 by 15 stars, the enemies are level 16. The enemies are level 99, and the way EXP rewards are calculated in this game is that you get whatever the EXP it takes to level up from that level, which is kind of a weird way to calculate EXP. But the thing to note is that the EXP formula actually changes going from level 99 to 100. So there's this kind of big gap between 99 and 100. And because of that, you get a lot more EXP whenever you defeat enemies that are level 99.
So I just killed 2 mushrooms and Kilia's already level 70 just from those 2 mushrooms.
Yeah, you get like level 320-ish.
Yeah.
Amount of EXP just by killing a level 99 over anything else. So it's super, super helpful to do. As long as you can pull it off. And that's just one thing that he set up, is just barely able to pull this off, that he can get level 99 enemies.
Yeah, even though we were way under leveled, we had a lot of advantages over the enemies. For example, I am using a sword. And in this game, every unit has a weakness to weapons and elements. So these mushrooms are weak to sword and fire. So that's why when we have a sword and we're using Hellfire Shot, we will do a lot more damage to these mushrooms. And the curry that I ate before I started the stage gave me 100% critical hit rate and HP regen. And critical hits in this game increase your damage output by 50%, so that is quite a huge advantage.
Let's fix you up.
Welcome.
Yeah, so you went from like what, level 40-ish all the way to almost 100?
Yeah, 102. So I'm gonna buy. I bought some weapons and I bought some shoes as well for Kilia, and now we're gonna go through the story. So for the most part, since we're over leveled compared to the enemies, everything is gonna be one-shotted except for bosses. Up until we get to a certain point, then we'll have to grind again to be able to get back up to that state. But yeah, even though we are going to be one-shotting everything, we will still have to use some strategy in the routing to be able to clear them much faster. Like, for example, this stage, it has enemies that spawn from enemy base panels every turn. And the best way to play the stage really quickly is to target the red enemies first. Then once all the red enemies are gone, you squad attack on the remaining enemies and it'll just wipe everything out. And
do you also pay attention to like your own positioning to try and get them into good AoE positions to get good hits in?
For some, I do. Like this map here, I have to end my turn on this specific spot here, and that'll cause the mage to group together so I can hit both of them in one attack. So enemy movement in this game is actually not random for the most part. It's based on your positioning. So in some instances I will end my turn at specific locations so I can force enemies to group up. But I don't do it very often, but it is a thing you can do. It does save a few seconds worth of turns over the course of the run. And earlier there was a cliff that I just was able to climb up. You want to explain the movement, I guess, the jump stat?
Yeah, so you equipped 3 shoes, and shoes in Disgaea, for the most part, they'll increase your move by 1, and then by having higher level shoes, they'll also increase your jump. Each character has a set amount of jump that they can go up, but by having shoes, they can just make that go up even further. So you'll see at certain points that you can just, by having a whole bunch of shoes equipped, you'll be able to move really far, and you'll be able to jump up as pretty much as high as you'll ever need to. Just by having bought some shoes and having them equipped.
Alright, so that's episode 5, and we're going to go to episode 6 now. For the most part, everything is going to be a curb stomp, but there are some things we have to be conscious of, like the ninjas in this stage. Yeah, the ninjas in this game, they have a unique ability where you're only gonna have 50% accuracy if you are adjacent to them. So we wanna be at least one space away from them before we attack.
Let's go.
Hey, Krista.
I never got the opportunity to explain it before, but the Dark Assembly, are you going to use it again at some point?
Yes.
Oh yeah, you do have to use it for
The bills, the martial trial bill, yeah.
the
I guess we can.
the next grind.
Yes. Yeah, and that's the other big RNG segment that I have to deal with.
And the Cave of Ordeals, I think is what it's called.
It's called Martial Trial in this game.
Okay. Martial Trial. So they're Dark Assembly. You spend mana that you get by defeating a bunch of enemies, and you can pass bills that just do various things. Earlier, you passed bills to, I think, increase the do more expensive stuff in shops. Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can buy kind of better equipment at the shops. Those can pass pretty much any time, and the mechanic behind that is that the items that you'll randomly get, or you can buy as well, you're supposed to bribe the senators, and they'll make them more likely to vote on the bill that you try and pass. Something like more expensive stuff, you just go for it immediately, and it usually passes anyway. You just spend the mana for it. But it's still completely random whether or not bills pass. So what he wants to do soon enough, before the halfway point, I don't know exactly when, but before the next grind, is he wants to pass a specific build to unlock the trials, which is kind of this optional area, which is really quick to grind, and that'll make a bunch of the maps go even faster than they already are. Like, you see this is going fast, this is nothing.
Yeah. So, back to this stage, I guess. This is the one of the most random stages in the whole run, because there's like two groups of enemies. There's a neutral group and the main enemy group. When you have those setups, then it's kind of hard to control the flow of the map, just because.
Let's go.
Well, just because of the
neutral enemy will move, or the neutral group will move, and then based off of that, they'll move differently, and it's just annoying.
Yeah. So that was Bloodus. He's a recurring boss that will fight throughout the run. And the way we deal with him is to just equip a fist weapon, then just punch him to death. So there's the counter wars that we'll deal with every time he's involved.
Yeah, I think he's either weak to fists, or he's most susceptible to it, either way.
Yeah, he's weak to fist. So that's why we have to swap weapons to fist before we engage him. Okay, so here we get the ability to move our NPCs around just in this episode, so we're just gonna do that. We just move the relevant NPCs that we use throughout the run closer to the dimension Prinny. I don't know how much, if it does save time over the course of the run or not, but it definitely does save time for post-game maps. And then we're gonna buy this ability called Shaking Excitement, which is a very important ability that we abuse throughout the run. Then we're gonna go immediately equip it. So what it does is it will give you 3 for every enemy on the map. And Shaking Excitement is gotten by leveling up the warrior. So that's why subclasses are useful. So in later maps we will be fighting a lot of enemies, like up to 40. So Shaking Excitement is going to be a show when we have those kinds of maps. But for now we do need Shaking Excitement to secure one-hit kills on. Some of them are still kind of beefy, and the main gimmick of this area is you have 80% accuracy. Your attacks may miss, which happened a lot in the previous stage.
Yeah, it's the Netherworld remove, but it does take a bit of time to remove, so I think you just go for the 80% anyway, because even if you miss, you're still okay.
Yeah, and you have bar the bonus gauge to be able to remove that effect. So that's why we can't just remove it straight away. You can build up the bonus gauge by attacking things and defeating things. So right here I use a squad attack, and that was so if you don't do that, then you have to scale this cliff to be able to reach her. Because she's just so far out the way, so we just use squad attack.
Let's go.
Okay, somebody's saying we're having connection issues.
Yeah, this game has been kind of up and
Oh, really? I'm not sure what to do in this situation.
just keep going. This area isn't like super. We've talked about most of the things we need to talk about. So until you get to say like the what's it called again?
The big grind stage, martial trial.
Big grind, martial trial. I think we'll just say.
Yeah, I promise my streams aren't like this quality wise. There and so here's Bloodus again, so we gotta just swap to a fist and then punch him with.
You are pretty good, okay?
Okay, so I'm gonna use the curry right here, and then that's the last time for the run.
Let's go!
So of note is that this game is pretty short, but this run is short enough that we can actually do like post-game content
Let's end this quick! Let's go!
runs within a reasonable time frame. So I will be running this at the RPG limit break this year, and the category for that is a post-game. Mostly because I want to show off even more crazier things.
Thank you.
Okay, so right here, in that stage I squad attacked an imp which killed off two enemies that were far off on the map. So if you can believe it, the post-game run is like an hour longer than any percent. It's only a longer than any percent.
Let's go!
And we can get like 10 times more powerful than what that the post-game run.
Let's go! Let's go! Thank you.
Okay, do we want to stop for now? If it
Well, are you done with the chapter?
You okay?
I am.
Let's go! Let's go!
Well, yeah, we're getting completely. We're not getting any kind of visual feed at all, so should probably just pause.
Okay, is it? Are they working to fix it?
Yeah, the restreamer I've now notified them of it a few days ago.
All right.
Yeah, Dark Aries Night is working on it right now.
It'll be resolved. I mean, I can restart the stream if you'd like me to.
It looks like it's just on his end, so I don't think there's anything we can do in particular.
So you excited for Limit Break? I know you've
Oh,
got
yeah.
a couple.
Yeah, I'm the only one with 2 runs into RPG Limit Break. More than 1 run.
And it's not a Disgaea game now.
No.
Fairly long game, so can't really blame you. I mean, when I picked this game up, I wasn't expecting to like cut off an hour off from the best time at the time.
Alright, looks like things are fixed now.
Alright, sounds good. So yeah, this stage, all you have to do is just warp to the panels and then dispose of the enemies as you come across them. It's pretty basic. But yeah, since this run is so short, I decided it would be nice to show a post-game run for this game at Limit Break, since like this is nice and all, but it's nice that you can beat the game in under 90 minutes, but you don't really get to see like the main thing that people play the games for. At least most people who stick with the game, they mostly spend a lot of time after the story is beaten.
You are pretty good. Okay.
Yeah, so Disgaea, normally how it works is that you beat the story, and that's just kind of the beginning of it. You can stop playing the game from there on and still have a good enough experience. But okay, but they're very well known for having a post game where things just go way over the top, and you start doing things in the millions and billions, like you'll do billions of damage and have stats that go into the millions, and you can just keep going up and up and up, and there's pretty much no limit as to how strong you can become.
Well, there is a limit, but it takes a lot of time to reach that point.
Yeah, pretty much no limit.
Yeah, and the thing is though, compared to the other games, just because they really streamline a lot of stuff in this game compared to the other games. So yeah, in this episode I have to buy some extra equipment to deal with the enemies here.
Let's go.
Because they could kill us if we're properly equipped.
Let's go!
What's my name?
Oh man, are we still having streaming issues?
Yeah, it's going up and down, but it's still getting some things here and there. I'll let them know.
You. You. Okay. Let's end this quick.
Yeah, this happened the last time I tried to run the game at a marathon and somebody else was restreaming. Not sure what's going on.
Let me think.
Meow! Meow!
And it looks like server very well.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can see it fine on my end, but it's the stream itself is the problem.
I see. Well, what can I say? I guess if you wanna issues, because my internet's pretty good. At least I hope so, because I'm paying a decent amount of money for good internet connection.
That's just kind of the downside of having an online marathon. Yeah, you get to have anyone at all, but like you don't have to have people fly out to specific places, but you still get these kind of
Let's go.
weird issues.
It's too bad, because I'd like to be able to do one of these without something going horribly wrong for once. Maybe in limit break it won't be a problem.
Yeah, well, there won't be any kind of lag issues at limit break. I mean, internet might drop, but there won't be any real lag.
Okay, well, we are mostly done with
It's the cheat shop.
the like easy stuff. Now we have to go grind a little bit now. So first I have to unlock a few subclasses. So I unlocked the Magic Knight class, which will be useful later on. And I'm just gonna buy some equipment, and then we are going to go change up the ability list here. Then we're gonna arrange our party, and then finally we are going to see, we're gonna pass a bill here. So this is the one of the most random bills we have to deal with. Oh shoot! Oh shoot! I first try. Wow. Last
Nice.
time I did this at an online marathon, it took me over 20 tries to pass this bill. Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah, passing lower than 50%, it can take a while if you're, unless you want to bribe the senators, but the time it takes to bribe the senators is just really bad, and it only increases the chances. It doesn't
Only
make it guaranteed.
yeah, it only slightly increases the chances. Yeah, that's probably the best
Okay.
RNG I've ever gotten on that martial trial bill. Because it says 35%, but you can easily fail that bill over 10 times in a row.
Okay.
So what he's doing is he's magic changing Usalia, which was a story character that he got earlier in the run,
Okay.
where
Let's go.
by doing magic change, he's using the character as a weapon, and that will let both of the characters get experience in this case, because
Let's go.
we're going to use Usalia, one of her
Okay.
her overloads, which is something that you can only do in revenge mode, and we will use her overload to be able to one-shot a lot of maps just completely. You'll just bring her out, get revenge, and then use her overload, and then that's the entire map.
Yeah, we have
It
to
makes-
we have to unlock the overload first, and we're gonna do that in this episode.
Let's go.
So we just have to do a few more story stages. Before that, we have to grind up here to around level 300.
Let's go.
Actually, the main reason to do this grind to begin with is to unlock a certain ability for Usalia. Right now, I'm mostly subclassing,
Let's go.
working on ranking up her subclass for the warrior subclass, so I can unlock the shaking excitement ability for her. And that's the reason we do this stage as many times as we do. I gotta do this stage 14 times to rank up this subclass.
Yeah, you used to do this run without this grind, and by including this grind, you actually ended up saving about what, 5 minutes to the run?
It's about 10 minutes.
10 minutes? Okay.
Let's end this quick.
Yeah, because before I used almost exclusively Killia and squad attack, but because I didn't think that the overload would actually work out, but it looks like it does. Okay, so we are done with this grind. Equip Usalia properly. Then we gotta check if we have anything for Killia, and that's nice. And we're gonna go.
Where would you like to go, dude?
Actually, I need to go change my cheat shop settings first before I
Cheating's the best.
move on. And I think it's good to move on now.
Let's go.
Okay, I need to heal up.
Let's fix you up.
Let's go. Let's end this quick.
Which has 40 enemies in it, which is the most we'll be seeing throughout the game.
Let's go.
One thing to note is that whenever you defeat an enemy that is under revenge mode, you can get these shards and you can use them to bets, but they don't really very effective at all.
Yeah, there are actually other ways to permanently increase your stats, but we won't be seeing that in this run. The extracts, and actually we can't really use it very effectively because I turned off the ability to capture enemies, because it just gives you an extra text box that you have to deal with. And at this point in the game, the enemies will not really give a lot of stats from the extracts.
Yeah, especially since you're way higher level than them, just so you can one-shot them and be able to just get really powerful skills.
Okay, so in this episode we're gonna use Usalia Killia. to tag the enemies for a bit. Then after that, we're mostly just going to be using one of them as a.
Usalia is nice because she has a ranged attack that is 3x3, and so you can get a lot of enemies at a time in a single hit, just with a single attack on Usalia.
Yeah, and we won't be using it anymore after this episode, though.
Because we have something even better.
You okay?
Actually,
Let's go.
for the later stages, for the most part, only the bosses would be surviving what we're gonna be doing for most of the rest of the run. So Usalia, when she gets her powers unlocked, she also has a nice support attack ability, which allows her to attack any unit that any ally attacks from wherever she's at.
Yeah, so story-wise, this is kind of Usalia's arc, where
Okay.
we're kind of going back to the Bunny Kingdom. So once we finish this chapter, we'll be able to get her overload and hit all of the enemies in a single hit.
Actually,
And
we're gonna be doing it right now.
Oh,
Yeah.
because you already have it now.
Yeah, this stage is where we'll unlock the overload, and then we're just gonna use it. We have got to upgrade my.
Where would you like to go, dude?
Braveheart being the attack buff that she can just do on herself. Overload doesn't count as an action, but you have to have revenge to be able to activate it.
Yeah, and she starts off in revenge mode for the regular stage, conveniently enough.
And then you have like 4 characters
Where would
out,
you like to go, dude?
just kind of one tile away from the base panel, just to increase stats. It's one of
Let's go.
it's like adjacent characters increase stats.
I will
Yeah, she actually unlocks it
more.
in that stage as well.
No matter what.
She unlocks. For the most part, the story is a group of demons want to band together to defeat the evil Emperor Void Dark, and along the way they unlock their true powers in the form of their overloads.
Let's go.
I'm gonna eat you, dude.
So pretty much every stage is just going to be a setup to be able to one-shot every single enemy on the map, either through revenge mechanic and buffing.
Okay, I messed that up. Oops.
Where would you like to go, dude?
Well, almost.
Yeah, I was undershooting a little bit. Sometimes I get to.
Fortunately, in this game, if you mess up or die on a stage, and it's not a game over.
Yeah, sometimes I get to cocky and try to do like
You
the
try and
minimums.
cut a few actions, and you end up getting punished for it.
Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah, these are really important if you're going for like a really good run.
Let's go.
Because even though we kill the audience in one turn for the most part, you can't. You still have to deal with randomness, because you might get like a nick on one of the enemies and they'll end up surviving.
Nick being kind of like a half evade where you only do half damage, and it's kind of based off of So for this map,
You okay?
all the enemies, or pretty much all of them, magic change with a Prinny, and that means that they get the effect of a Prinny, where if they get thrown or they're next to an explosion, then they'll explode. So that's what he did there on that map. One of the maids had a magic change Prinny, and then there were a lot of explosions.
Yeah, we can't actually use the overload in that map because most of their actions don't increase the revenge meter, or it's just too hard to get a setup where you can reliably get revenge mode. So I just do it the old-fashioned way.
Let's go! Smell you later. Is that all? Sit! What's my name?
I'm going, Clint.
So for the most part, the rest of the run is going to be optimizing our first turn setup to be able to one-shot everything.
Let's go. I'm gonna eat you, dude.
And that pretty much involves trying to get 3 of our units killed as fast as possible.
And the reasoning for that is that the celestial hosts have an ability where adjacent characters have increased stats.
Yep. Well, not stats, just the damage they deal.
Oh, okay. So he's just going to make 4 of them, and then, or probably more than 4. Right?
I make 5 because of I needed like an extra body for sacrificing. So I still have 4 to do the buff. Okay, I need to actually buy some equipment here.
And it's super cheap to actually make these characters because we're making them at level 1. You can spend a lot more money to make them at higher levels, but we don't really need them at higher levels. Level 1 is good enough.
Yeah, because we need them to die as soon as possible.
So 1 is actually just better because of revenge mode.
Yeah, when we use these celestial hosts, okay, hold on.
And we're going to switch up our audio for the moment.
All right.
Because we're having these connection issues.
All right. Okay, I've muted my
Because we're having these
my audio. Well, my mic audio.
Also the Discord audio, so desktop audio as well. So like disconnect this desktop audio, so it's just game audio.
Okay, I think I muted that as well.
All right.
Yeah.
And once we get the okay, you can continue.
Sure. Surprisingly, I'm still kind of on track to be underestimate. I think.
Okay.
Alright, so let's go. Hopefully this will work.
Let's go! You guys! I'm not an angel. Right there.
Yeah, this is marathon luck at work here. Something always goes wrong.
But the show must continue.
Yep.
Let's go! Smell you later.
Let's go.
Sit!
Yeah, dude. Here you go.
There!
I'm going, Clint.
Yeah, for the most part, it's just optimizing our first turn setup, like I said earlier. most stages have their own like, unique setup that will allow me to get 3 of my ally characters killed as soon as possible. So there is some routing to that.
See you later. Let's go. Is that all?
And also because you have your allies dying, you have to take out different allies each time. You're putting
Yeah.
them in different positions, you're taking out different numbers of celestial hosts. So it's just little optimizations like that, and they do really add up in the course of a run. Like with these, with strategy RPGs and Disgaea, it's really important to get all these minor optimizations that'll save seconds here, seconds there. It all really adds up. So this sort of story map right here is where Killia gets his overload, and for this little part, he just gets infinite turns.
Yeah, so we can just destroy everything in one hit, in one turn.
But later we'll get a more controlled version of that overload, and you'll get like what, 3 turns with Killia?
Where would you like
Yeah, 3 actions in
Yeah.
one turn.
3 actions in 1 turn.
And that'll allow us to destroy bosses as well really quickly, because they're not going to be getting one-shotted by the overload.
Let's go. Sorry, but I'm forcing myself.
So in this episode, the gimmick of this area is that the wind resistance of everything is reduced. And I equipped an item called the Leafy Fan on Usalia, and that's a special item because it's got a unique property that it'll make all the regular attacks and skills wind elemental. So the overload of Usalia is non-elemental, so if you have the Leafy Fan equipped, that makes it wind elemental. And that just means we can destroy most of this episode, even more than we were able to before.
Now, what should I do? Later.
Yeah, dude. Me too. Everyone.
Top, top, top.
Leave it to me. Yeah.
One thing to note that we haven't really talked about is these skills, more specifically the skill animations. You want to go over that?
Yeah, I was thinking about that myself. So, starting with this guy D2, the skills, when you turn the animations off, which you do because it's faster to do it that way, the first time the skill goes off, you still see the animation of that skill. And so there's some points where you would like to not see that, even if we're going at like 3 times speed. It still really matters.
Yes.
So he has specific setups to try and reduce the number of attack animations that happen for the first time. So either you want an attack that you've already seen, or you just want to have fewer unique attacks happen.
Yeah, there is one point towards the end of the game where we have to have a very specific setup so we can actually not see the skill of a specific enemy.
Let's go.
Yeah, dude.
Let's go.
Okay, so this is one of the few stages where it's better to have Killia instead of Usalia, because squad attack just hits everything.
You.
Like, no questions. It just hits everything, so we just use that and we're done with the stage. And for the most part, we'll be using Usalia. This is probably one of the shortest episodes in this whole run.
just because it's so easy to set everything up and everything pretty much dies in one hit into the bosses.
Everyone get your no dudes ready.
Great. Now, what should I do?
Yeah, that's the.
How could we
That's why I have the voices in English, because you don't really get that effect when you use Japanese voices.
No, they end their sentences with "su" instead of "dude."
What's my name? I see. Hey! Cheer gives me
Yeah, at this point we don't really have to deal with too much RNG anymore, other than a random enemy surviving here and there. But for the most part, it's just execution.
And execution can be pretty tricky because you're moving the cursor so fast that you can accidentally move to a wrong tile, and that's just kind of how the options work.
Yeah, unfortunately, you can correct that in this game. I think starting with this guy D2, they added the ability to. You don't have to, like, when you make an action, you don't like commit to it. You don't have to like cancel out.
Mm-hmm.
Where would you like to go, dude?
Yeah, in previous Disgaea games, what you had to do if you made like an incorrect action is that you would have to cancel that, or like you move them to an incorrect spot, you'd have to cancel their move and then move them from their original spot to where you intended them to be. But here, instead, if you move them to like one tile off, you can move them from that tile to the one tile over, and it just remembers like what are the viable positions to be in, and it's just a nice quality of life thing.
Let's go.
So in this stage I'm in, there's random reinforcements that spawn every turn. So we want to actually get rid of the. We're gonna hope to try and beat these enemies before they move, so we don't have to like deal with the netherworld spawning the enemies every turn.
Yeah, so you just use the lifting to get all the way to the other side to beat the boss.
Yep, and I did buy a weapon before I started this because if I don't have a better weapon equipped, then I can't one-shot the boss. So I have to like, if I don't one-shot the boss, I have to summon the netherworld, and yeah, that costs some extra time there. And this is the other stage where you get random reinforcements. So fortunately we got some bad luck there, and that enemy's way too far out, so I have to go retry. So yeah, this is not like 100% set in stone. Still gotta deal with randomness like that once in a while. Then you have to quickly decide whether it's better to restart or not. So see, right there, it actually worked that time. So here we gotta use Killia because we're fighting a boss this time. And we're gonna get to see his overload in action here. So I just squad attacked an enemy and killed all the regular enemies, and then I just swapped the fist and used a skill on Bloodis and takes him out. If I don't
attack is still good.
Yeah. If I don't swap my weapon, then I would have taken like an extra action to kill him.
Let's go.
But yeah, for the most part, we will be using Killia and Usalia as like a tag team for boss maps. And
It's nice to
like-
have that extra character, so that you can actually distribute between different roles.
Yep.
You have Asalia take out all the weaker enemies, and then Killia's for targeting
Bosses.
down bosses. Yeah.
So here in this stage, I avoided seeing a skill that takes a really long time to do by positioning my sacrifices in the way I did. Fortunately, we still have a unit surviving, so we have to take care of him the regular way. Most of the time, it's just one enemy that survives, so just take them out with whatever character you have. Okay, so here I have to take the leafy fan off Usalia before I do overload. Right. Because there are twin dragons in this map, and if I don't take off the leafy fan, they will survive because they heavily resist wind. So yeah, it's kind of weird that taking off a weapon actually does more damage, but in this case, this is actually what you have to do.
What's my name?
Because you really don't want that wind element.
Smell you later. Sit
Okay, so this is the
there.
main antagonist that we have been trying to face. Void Dark.
There.
So what we have to do at the beginning is to throw away that horseman that's next to him. If we don't do that, then he's gonna magic change with Void Dark, making him much harder to kill. We want to be able to defeat Void Dark in one turn. So let's see if we can do that. So you set up our overload here, blow everything up, and then Killia's gonna activate his overload. And if we don't want to get too close to him because he can counterattack us, and if that happens, Killia will not be able to act. So yeah, I just weaken him a little bit before I move in for the kill.
Ultimate demon technique. Ultimate.
And we are off the final boss.
Let's go. Great.
So do you remember what the final boss like actually is?
Sort of. It's like it's is it? It's not Killia's sister, is it?
That's Void's
It's
sister.
Void's sister. It's Void's sister and Void Dark. So the main antagonist and his sister got merged into the same entity and like into this amalgamation of evil.
Yeah,
Great story.
Yeah. So the way the final boss works is there's these 4 bits which I just killed with the squad attack.
And those bits increase the stats of the final boss.
Well,
I think
actually,
it decreases damage.
Yeah, so you can't actually hurt the final boss until you get rid of at least one of the bits. We do have a chance of defeating her in one turn. Oh, we did that. So if we kill her in one turn, we will skip seeing her special skill that takes like 10 seconds to do.
Yeah, wormhole.
Yeah, it does
Alright.
actually rely on us getting a counterattack though, which we did. That's why we were able to kill her off in one turn.
And we're already
Yeah,
at
that's
time.
time. Yeah, that's time. Okay, so just as a preview, you see all this stuff here. That's like 10 plus different options unlocking. So yeah, we actually do unlock extra stuff after we beat the game, which is even more options to mess around with. So we're in the post game. Unfortunately, that this is just any percent, so we won't be able to get to see these features in action. But if you tune into RPG Limit Break, which is in a couple months, I will be doing a run of this game at the event, which will use these features, and they make stuff even crazier than what you see here. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have. Thank you, Pink Pajamas, for co-commentating with me, and thanks NASA Marathon for having me despite the issues we had.
No problem.
And I guess we can turn it over to the next run then.
Yeah, everybody just hang tight. I'll be setting up the next run, and just bear with us.
Alright, can I stop the stream now, or still have something going on? Alright.